Welcome to the latest episode of the Celtic Exchange Weekly. This is Tino. This week I'm joined by James and Paddy as we once again cover all things Celtic. Paddy, Portuguese superstar Jota is finally back on the wing. What a job David Pleat is doing. Talk us through it.
Some good scouting there. Just over the moon to see him back in the hoops. I never thought I would see a player of his calibre make the return to Celtic, and we can speak about obviously the journey he's had since he's left. Probably not a great spell in Saudi, and not a great spell in France, but it just seems to be the scenarios that he's ended up in just haven't been suited to him. The style of play hasn't been suited to him. And for us to go make the call and try and sell Celtic to Jota once again doesn't sound like it's a hard job, but the player would have had a lot of thinking to do in terms of whether he really wanted to come back, and a bit of a gamble from him, to be honest. But my God, we're lucky to have a player like that in our roster. Sorry to sound American.
And it's not, James, like you're getting him at 32 and he's coming back for a payday. He's 25.
I know.
I was going to say the peak of his powers. The peak of his powers are yet to be. He's still got room to grow, and he seems excited to be here. And equally, the fans are just as excited as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's got that star quality. You know, he's an icon for us. So I think he's got a lot of hard work to do to become a Brendan Rodgers player. But he's got that special something. And I was saying in one of the post-matches, pre-matches, it's something we've been missing, that wee bit of genius to unlock defences, low block stuff. And, you know, I would say for Champions League as well, he always turned up on the big stage.
Yeah, do you know, I read the BBC article on it yesterday, just, you know, confirming his return. And here's some comments from some of our listeners, viewers, readers, whatever it was. And a guy saying, I can never really done it in Europe. And I was like, what you been watching?
Hang on a minute.
We were there in person when he scored against Bayer Leverkusen. He scored against Real Madrid, a free kick.
Leipzig.
He scored Leipzig. He's absolutely done it in Europe. And he made that pass against Ferencváros for Kyogo, that pass, inverted commas. Paddy, he's a guy that, as James says, adds that star quality. I think Celtic right now have got a very decent side with some really good players. You know, you've got Rio Hatate on his day and Nicholas Kuhn and, you know, lots of exciting stuff going on. But he has that star quality, and you could debate if Kuhn's more effective, but you need the entertainers in football and guys to get you excited. And Jota is a guy that gets everyone excited.
He does. I think, you know, it's a real boost, not just for us supporters, but for the squad as well. I think, you know, if there's maybe some players that are doubting their time at Celtic and maybe looking to use the club as a stepping stone to bigger things, this is actually a nice reminder of, you know, the grass isn't always greener at the other side, but there's also that opportunity now where you look at the potential participation in the Champions League, what we could go and potentially do in that tournament and get into the later knockout stages. That's exciting for any player to get to that level. And I think that the likes of Hatate, the likes of Arne Engels coming in and seeing a player like Jota, the likes of Nicholas Kuhn and Daisen Maeda, they'll be buzzing to have quality that they're going to be training with day in, day out, and then bringing it onto the park. And it's a brilliant headache for us as fans, even better headache for our manager, that who does he go with in each of these games in the run-in for this season. So just a brilliant signing.
Yeah, it sure is. And James, you've had that situation in previous windows where we've signed the project players, inverted commas, guys at 19, 20, 21, 2 to 4 million price bracket. And they've got their place. I think that's valid to sign those guys who can learn and develop along the way. But sometimes you've got to sign the guys who are ready. And he's ready. And Kieran Tierney, if and when he comes in, he's ready. And that's what's really exciting about how Celtic are now doing their business.
Yeah, and I suppose between now and the 3rd of February, was that next Monday?
It's Monday night at 11, the transfer window closes.
So we'll know everything about Celtic's ambitions for this year's Champions League by the end of that transfer window, because I think there's, you know, we needed a winger, probably more of a left winger than right. Jota can play left, so maybe he's going to utilise that or rotate himself and Kuhn. But I wouldn't say the position that Jota's best in was their screaming need because Nicholas Kuhn. But we've got requirements elsewhere, and that's where we really want to see the kind of the director of football step up and do his job.
I think Jota could play anywhere across the front line, Paddy. He can certainly do left and right wing, and we've seen that at different times. Yeah. Under Ange, he switched about at different points. He could also do the number 10. We had a chat about that on Friday night when we spoke, and he's got the ability and the capability to slot in. And I also, what I really like about it is somebody saying, well, where's he going to play? Because Maeda and Kuhn start. That's up to the manager, but that's his problem, and it's the problem that means on the 60-minute mark you take out one exciting player for another really exciting player, and that's got to be the way forward. And I like the fact that in his first spell, the manager, you could certainly debate that he was backed initially and then not so much in his third season. You can't argue that the club seemed to be pushing the boat out. I mean, it's great business, right, to sell a guy for 25 mil a year and a half ago and get him back for around about 8. But spending 8 is not a thing that Celtic have done a lot in their history. So to do that and that now to become the norm, that says a lot about where we're headed.
It really is, but the manager's delivering in what he said he was going to. We're speaking about European progress. He's done it already. I think this is the thing for me is at Celtic, are we actually starting to wake up and realise that we could be a Champions League football club? And I think that if we go with that mindset and that mentality, listen, we're not going to spend hundreds upon hundreds of millions like other teams will do season in, season out. But the thing is that we can definitely compete and we could definitely get ourselves into knockout stages season after season, in my opinion. This is the beginning of that. It's building a foundation. And I think that they're really pushing to make sure that A, not only are we going to be able to do that this season and have a good stab at it, but B, we're also now thinking we're going to have a qualifier at the beginning of next season to get into the next league phase. And I think that if we've got a team ready the way it is at the moment, it should be a banker.
Yeah, it's so important to make sure we're ready for that. And that's what the January window does as much as anything. Jota will give us a huge boost for the Champions League knockout stage, whatever that looks like for us. But you've got to be ready for these qualifiers because they come around very quickly. And I think we're adding the quality that will make us capable there. James, they say it never really works out second time around at a club, should you bring guys back. There's a number of guys that have had 2 spells at Celtic, some to some success, some not so much. Got a few of them here in front of me. Do you want to try and name some of the guys who've come back?
Successfully?
Just all of them. Whoever.
Jack Nick, McAvenny.
Charlie Nicholas, McAvenny.
That's me.
Andy Walker. Any more, Paddy? More recent ones?
Struggling with it. Aye.
Fraser Foster. You could include Paddy Roberts, albeit it was loan spells, wasn't it? Emilio Izaguirre.
Oh, God.
And you want to go far back, probably to the most successful one, Bertie Auld. Bertie Auld left, went to Birmingham City, done fairly well down there, came back and done what he done, as we know. Do you have any fears, Paddy, on that basis? Just from the short list that I've read out there, sometimes it works, sometimes not so much. And there's always a danger in football of nostalgia. You think what you had and how good was it? But to the point earlier on, you often get these guys back at the end of their time. Right. Frank McAvenny was past his best. Andy Walker, Charlie Nicholas, these guys had done their best things for Celtic and it wasn't quite to be. For example, Emilio, you could debate whether he should have come back at all.
It's a panic signing.
Do you have any concerns that it's just a nostalgia move, or do you think it's an inspired move?
Oh no, 5.5 year deal is not a nostalgia move. I think it's good business from us, and I think that we know what he's capable of. We've made 25 million off him before, and I think that the club will be thinking, give us another year and a half with him, and maybe that value goes up again as well. I really do think that. It's not going to happen straight away. I think that it will take him a bit of time to get up to the speed of things again. Yeah. And I think Rodgers knows that as well. But I can't wait to just see him in full flow again. And I've no doubts, like you mentioned, 25 years old, he's coming into the best years. And I think that he's just got so much to give for us. And you can just hear from his press conferences, his interviews over the last 24 hours, the excitement in his voice as well, just to get back at it again. So, no, really happy for him.
Yeah, great stuff. We know that he's not played a lot of football in the last 18 months or so. He only played 10 times overall for Rennes. Started 3 and come off the bench and the rest. I think he got a goal and a couple of assists, but not much. And as you say, Paddy, we might need to just temper that enthusiasm we've all got at this moment in time before we're getting back to his best. At the moment, we're also linked with another winger, so you could debate whether striker is a priority, and we'll get to that in a minute. But in addition to Jota, we're linked with another winger. Paddy's going to help us in one moment with the pronunciation of that. It's a 21-year-old Danish winger called Sondre Orjaseter, who's currently playing at Sarpsborg. But in case I've butchered that, which I probably have, Paddy's got it for us.
We've tried to get the right pronunciation.
Orjaseter.
Is that you, Paddy, or is that your phone?
That's me. That was me this morning.
Orjaseter.
Orjaseter. I hope I've not wasted time there in a segment and he doesn't even come in, but we'll see how it goes.
We'll always remember his name.
That's it. But it's been reported on Sky today, James, that an initial bid has been submitted. So he would seem to be in that bracket where maybe you're getting the 21-year-old winger alongside the 25-year-old proven winger. I don't know much of anything about Orjaseter, but are you questioning why we're going in for another winger at this moment in time? Does it maybe lean towards the fact that Kuhn might be moving on in the summer? Is there a danger there?
I think maybe more likely Dyson, just in terms of cycles. There may be doing a wee bit of succession planning for him. You wouldn't want Dyson leaving at all, but I think Rodgers would look at Dyson as, almost a first name in the team sheet because of his industry, but there's no doubt he's other things can leave you a bit frustrated, but he's still banging the goals in. But I think Rodgers wants to have someone who can do the work, but also be very consistent in terms of delivering, striking, passing, a more complete winger. And this might be a nod towards that kind of succession plan.
Yeah, we'll see what goes there. Paddy, it certainly does put the future in doubt of a number of wingers. My man Yang, Louis Palmer, maybe even James Forrest. You wonder if I think the manager wants to have these two players for each position. Generally speaking, that there's no drop in quality when you go to the bench. So you might have, say it is Jota and Maeda on one side, Kuhn plus another, and it might be Orgia Setter or it might remain James Forrest. We'll see. But again, it just leans towards the fact that he's looking to build quality all across the park, because often in years past we've had a good starting 11, maybe a good 13, 14, even 15, but in some positions, left back right now is a weakness, for example, you go to the second option and it's a big drop off in quality, and we're working hard to combat that.
It seems to be the case. I think obviously I wouldn't be surprised if teams are sniffing around Nicholas Kuhn or even Dyson Maeda this summer, but I think they're two players that Celtic would want, well, especially with Maeda, I think one more season from him. Kuhn maybe another couple off him as well. Still think it's pretty early days in their Celtic career, and I do think it is looking at the quality. And I'm sorry to say it, but I think Rodgers has realised Yang and Palmer are just not the answer for coming off the bench, and he's now starting to look at his shape for next season, and that's the joy of the position we're in. I think that even get into these knockout stages of the Champions League, he'll also get further answers to what do I really need for next season. And as we were talking, I think a few of us were talking last night, we're not far off. We're not far off having a really settled side that could be comfortable in this tournament.
We'll see if you're saying that after Yang's masterclass at Villa Park tomorrow, because
he's going to start. Aye,
yeah,
absolutely.
whether we like it or not.
Tomorrow night's the night for him.
Yeah, I was going to say whether we like it or not, but I do like it, and he will be starting, so we'll see. James, the joy of Kyogo's return offsets to an extent the disappointment of losing a genuine Celtic hero over the last 3.5 years in the shape of Kyogo.
The joy of Kyogo's return.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
That's how
he's back already. What a deal.
Kyogo's we've sold Kyogo for 10 million, we'll take him back for 5. Yes, so obviously Kyogo moves on. Coincidence that it's Rennes over in France that takes Kyogo and Jota returns, but that's just how football goes sometimes. It's now being confirmed after a wee bit of a delay, and it was the shoulders causing him an issue.
Doesn't like the manager.
The medical's not worked out. But he's going there, James. He's going there for what looks like a relegation battle first and foremost. Rennes are very close to the drop zone. He signed a 2.5-year deal there. People were questioning that in itself, but he's a 30-year-old striker, and he probably wants to go there, get well paid for a couple of years, and maybe gravitate back towards Japan, to see out his career. That might be.
See him going over to the MLS. He'd score a barrel load over there.
He'd have a great time. Just in terms of the facts and figures, and most will know a lot of these numbers about Kyogo, but he arrived in July 2021 as one of the first signings of the Postecoglou revolution. He's played 165 times for Celtic, scoring 85 goals. Game-winning goals, 30 of, which is a great record. Cup final goals, 5. European goals, 8. Glasgow Derby goals, 8. And trophies, also 8. But soon to be 9, I would suggest. Those stats come from Ben the Tim on Twitter. Paddy, your general reflections on Kyogo's time in a Celtic shirt and on the decision to let him go before what is still an important game against Villa tomorrow night?
Yeah, massive player for us. I think I stated it pretty quickly, maybe in his second season, that I hadn't seen a player who could, manipulate the ball the way he did, and he was just such a special player for us. The positions he could get into, his intelligence on the ball as well as off the ball was just a joy to behold, and it did really remind me of someone that could read the game as good as him. What was Henrik Larsson? I think that he wasn't far off in terms of being able to just watch what the defender was going to do, what mistake were they going to make, and be there at the right time to take the ball off them. I think we'll struggle to replace him. I really do. But any good striker can come and score goals in this league. But there's players that done it consistently, and there's players that done it with real style and just passion in what he was trying to do for us as well. I think the only thing that is preventing us keeping Kyogo was just his international setup, and I think that if he was getting in the Japan team and he was a starting player for them, we wouldn't be talking about him leaving today.
I think Ren's going to help with that.
I do.
So,
it's a top 5 league, and that's what the manager's after.
He himself has said that. He said it in his quotes from signing that the top 5 league is part of things in terms of moving there. Rennes himself aren't a massive side in the bigger picture, but they'll play against Monaco and PSG and Marseille and all these kind of clubs, and it just keeps you in the watchful eye.
I seen it from Hoydie on Twitter that they've actually spent 125 million that summer there, so they're in a bit, they're in a bit of a bad way. But the intention's there to grow by the looks of it, if they can keep themselves up this season. But he's thinking about next year. It's World Cup year, and I think that his intention is to try and get back into this team, and that'll be the reason why. And
the counter, of course, would be that Daiz Maeda and Rui Hotati continue to get picked for Japan, but he at this age,
a lot of competition.
Sorry?
A lot of competition for his position.
The front players in Japan are
including
exceptional.
Dyson.
Yeah, true. And he wants to just give himself the best possible chance. This is his last chance at a major, so you can understand it for all reasons. I don't have a big issue with that either. You know, some people are getting annoyed at the club, annoyed at the player, and even saying, you know, why go to Rennes? It doesn't matter where he's gone, gone. So it doesn't matter as if he's gone to Portland Juniors. If he's out, he's out. But people are getting a wee bit upset about it, and I can get that. And because he's been so effective for us, but I can understand from all sides why they've made the move.
I don't like, I'm reading quite a bit, and I get it, obviously, leaving halfway through a season, but I'm not really enjoying reading he's gone, book closed, that's it. No. He's done. We're done with him. That's myth. Anyone that dares leaves halfway through a season. But yeah, I still think back. Henrik Larsson came to us at one point and said, it's time to move. Yeah. It's time to go. Albeit he gave us the rest of that season, but I still think that you reward players for what they've done, and I think Kyogo was massive in picking Celtic up from a really, really tough position, a depleted squad that lacked quality, and he came in and just basically put a really, really strong Rangers side in comparison to what we had. He put them to the sword. Yeah. So I wish him all the best.
I think, if you need to understand Celtic's policy that any time we get offered 10 million for a 30-year-old, it's always going to be a yes. That's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah, and I don't think he owes us anything at all. He came for 3.5 years, gave his absolute best to Celtic, and again, I'll state his peak years have come and gone at Celtic. We've got the very best of Kyogo. Those 85 goals speak for themselves. Tell me just quickly before we move on, if you got a favourite goal amongst them, Paddy. You said he's got such an intelligence as a player and scored so many goals, but he's not like a traditional number 9. He's very different in many ways. Even just thinking off the top of my head of the creativity. The one against Rangers where Jack Butland's position was just a bit out, and he had the smarts to just say, well, I'll just put it there. I've got a goal as well, which I don't know if I'd call it a favourite, but it was early on. I'm sure it was in season 1 against Aberdeen. I think at Pittodrie, it was a whipped ball at the back post, and he just chested it. Everyone else throws the head at it or tries to volley. He just nudges it in his chest. It was really clever.
His range of finishing's ridiculous. Even the goal at Ross County, the first goal, like you're at the right hand side of the goals, and he still puts it in the bottom left. Yeah, it's just an incredible finish.
The goal against Hibs there last month, that way you can adjust his feet, play the ball.
The step over.
You were there on the day when he scored his hat-trick, his home debut, weren't you, against Dundee?
I was there.
Aye.
Pretty sure you were
COVID
there.
times, wasn't it?
COVID times, as they call them. Any other standouts, any quick ones, your favourite Kyogo goal?
2 for me. Definitely the goal against Hibs in the Cup. The cup final, League Cup final. First one. Just incredible. And then the goal against Rangers, the top right corner. That's his left foot. Because everyone's screaming pass the ball through is available. No, I know exactly where I'm putting this.
There's a wealth to choose from. There's 85 to choose from, as we know, actually. And the show reels are out. You've watched them with the kind of various emotional songs in the background. But of the 85, not many are just regular tap-ins. Very unique and wide range of goals, and it's great to see. The only shame is, I suppose, that we won't get a chance to give him a proper farewell. That if we knew he was leaving, and you could give him that last big send off, and you can't say that to the very last minute he didn't give his absolute all. Correct VAR decisions last week in the Champions League, but he scored 3 goals. He's done his job. He's not trying to coast in and just get through the game uninjured. He's given his all there.
Us to go through 100%, and he celebrated every goals like he was a Celtic player as well. He didn't walk away. That the body language experts are saying. Great player, great servant.
We'll get him back in 8 years' time to do the windfall. They'll roll him out at half time, and that'll be the chance. I do remember when he signed, actually, he briefly went back to Vissel Kobe, and they presented him with a wreath and all that kind of stuff, and they wanted to give him his
Iniesta.
Was Iniesta involved at that time still? So maybe we'll do something like that. So we'll see. In terms of the here and now, though, for Celtic, it does leave us with only 2 genuine strikers on the books, and that's in the shape of Adam Ida and Johnny Kenny. James, your thoughts on that? And that is the question. I suppose that's now what we've got to head into Villa Park with, and it's not great.
Yeah, that's my only criticism of the transfer. Like, I don't really see. You don't know the ins and outs of the deal, but I don't really see how you couldn't have, pushed that to Thursday morning. Is that really going to make material difference to Rennes that Kyogo's available? I suppose the agent will do the, what if he gets injured thing. It's that kind of move. But there's no doubt the timing is bad for us. Maybe the Celtic are saying we've qualified, we're going to be happy enough with the playoff. But Rodgers won't. Rodgers will be massively up for the game tomorrow night, as we all are. So, yeah, there's no doubt we're stretched. We're not making a signing that would be able to go into the Champions League squad anyway. So, it's a challenge for tomorrow, but the real challenge is getting that quality replaced by Monday night for the rest, for the Champions League knockouts. One that we saw today or yesterday, Rashford for the rest of the season. Nah.
I think he's down tools.
He has down tools. I really like Amorim at Man United. I really like how he talks, and I've watched a few of his interviews in recent times. Just the other night, he said, he didn't name Rashford, but it was definitely about Rashford. He said, if someone doesn't give their all in training, then I'll put on, I can't remember the guy's name, the goalie coach, basically, Stevie Woods. Right. He says, I'll play him before I play a guy that doesn't give his all every time he trains in a Man United team. And I think, I understand if it's not working out and stuff, but there's no excuses for Rashford not to still give his all while he's a Man U player.
Especially a new manager.
Same way as Kyogo gave his all as long as he was a Celtic player. So, no, it wouldn't be for me. I just don't like the fact that he's got it in his locker to down tools like that. I think he's a talented guy, and real credit to him for all the stuff he done off the park. I think he's a decent person.
That's not his job.
Exactly. He's a good person and all that stuff by all accounts. But no, he doesn't inspire me at all. Talented as he is, we'll see. But Paddy does leave his light. So Adam Ida, up and down season. We know he's capable, but he's not been on fire this season so far. From his point of view, though, he will almost instantly be feeling better. He'll have a lift. He'll know that he'll be starting the next number of games, and that'll give him a chance to kick on. Johnny Kenny just remains to be seen. We recorded a show on Friday night. I thought Bridle was strong in his opinions on Johnny Kenny.
That's also wrong.
Strong and wrong?
Strong and wrong.
So he said a limited look, because we've all got limited eyes on what Johnny Kenny's done, but he's thinking it's not going to work out. He's back here just to get him a bit of training, have a look, and he'll possibly go back out on loan. Maybe that will happen.
I don't think he can be part of the team tomorrow as well. I think
he's not. He's not squad.
Yeah,
for tomorrow.
That's why
he
Cummings. So you were saying Cummings has travelled?
Cummings has apparently travelled. Yeah. So I think, listen, it's Ida's game tomorrow. I think he'll relish it. I do.
Great opportunity for him.
It really is. It really
Especially
is.
on the back of being involved in the goal last week.
He's
got that confidence. You saw it, just the weight lift off his shoulders,
Huge.
You do see others saying that they'd be happy with Maeda till the end of the season, and I can't get on board with that.
I can see Maeda coming into that position.
Absolutely can do it. But I don't like the fact that he's a winger who can play striker. I want my strikers to be strikers, my wingers to be wingers.
But when it's Kuhn, Jota, Maeda in the middle, that's different kind of supply.
I know, but he's just not an out-and-out striker, is he?
He's done it for Japan. He played at the World Cup. That was his sole position.
That's what these folks are saying.
I know.
He's done it.
We're confirming it for you then.
Rodgers has told you he's not having that.
Rodgers has said, word for word, I want another striker, and that's the case. I really do think we'll see somebody. And, obviously, lots can happen between now and the end of the window, but I do think they'll back the manager. And I do think they need to, James. I don't think we can afford to try and wing it for the rest of the season.
No, it's the model. You've got £10 million there for a 30-year-old. You go and buy a 22-year-old, 23-year-old for that 10 million, 12 million, 14 million. If you're confident you can develop that player into being a £40 million player in 3-4 years' time, and you get the benefit from that in that time. So, but they've absolutely got to go out and do it. You can't fudge this. And I genuinely don't think Celtic are holding that attitude anymore. I think they've got a bit more ambition. The ambition we've been looking for from them for years. You can't deny they're spending the money.
Yeah, they definitely are. Paddy, you get any other rumours apart from Rashford? It'd be lovely to hear one that's not Matthias Kvistgaarden.
That's my lot, mate. That's my lot.
They just want too much money.
I think that for every passing day that we don't make a bid, they're just like up it again.
Seems to be about £13 million from Brøndby. So as most will know, Matthias Kvistgaarden, by all accounts, an exciting young striker, 22 years of age, having a good season this time around. Celtic have had eyes on him for a while. But Brøndby are aware of that, and there's not just Celtic at the table. So that one, I don't know if we'll end up priced out. I think we need to get these guys before anyone knows them. That's how Celtic need to operate.
Why have we not pushed the button on them? That's the bit for me. Is it because we've basically said to him, you're coming in and you're not going to be the number one striker? Is that been the reason? Or is it now that they're going to say, we want you to be our main man?
I think there's a path for him to be number one.
There is.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But what I'm meaning is that we've been linked with him for a couple of seasons now, and we've not pushed anything.
We've had 6-7 for him last year.
I wonder if he as a player knows that this next move is the move that needs to propel him into the spotlight as a frontman. And a lot of
Champions
players,
League knockouts.
yeah, a lot of players will have ambitions beyond Celtic, which is okay. That's fine. That's the modern game. And maybe 12 months ago, he was told, you'll need to come in and play second fiddle to Kyogo, for example, and that wasn't for him. Maybe just things have changed at our side, which might make it more appealing, but we'll need to see. But I'd love to hear something by rumours, even if it's just not true. I just need something.
It has ramped up a bit, though. It has ramped up. I think the next few days will be interesting for us.
They will be. So just on that, in terms of kind of general ongoing transfer news just now, Alex Baye now looks like he's going on loan to Como in Serie A. He's obviously here at Celtic from Barcelona just now, but by all accounts tomorrow, Wednesday, he'll take his medical there and that'll be the move. And good luck to him. He's a guy that was pretty committed, played a big part, played the ball to Rio Hatate, who played it through for Adamida the other night there, and amongst other things, he had some good moments in a Celtic shirt, and good luck to him, as I say. It does open the door for a KT arrival this window. You know, the suggestions are that a pre-contract's pretty much done and dusted, but it leaves us light again, James. I've spoke about the striking position. At left back, you've got Greg Taylor and Adam Montgomery as your recognised left backs, and maybe Liam Scales if the manager wants to nudge him across there. But again, you want to have better cover than that, don't you?
Definitely. You know, I think it's just not always possible. I think we will get the Tierney deal over the line, but it's not always possible. Other teams have got to prioritise their own cover. If Tierney doesn't happen, I'd like to see Matthew Anderson come back from Admiral Wacker.
Yeah.
Just to give us that. You know, he's getting rave reviews out there, so we want to see a wee bit better quality. And the guys like Montgomery and stuff, you know, a good try or stuff. If it's not going to work, let guys like that go and, you know, prosper their career. But maybe they're on contracts that they can't get elsewhere.
They had him out on loan. Montgomery picked up an unfortunate injury. I think he was at Motherwell and barely played before he picked up his injury. He's been around for a while. It doesn't seem like he would have a future at Celtic. He'll probably travel as well as Daniel Cummins though, because you needs must, and he'll be part of that squad as a homegrown talent. Aside from that, there are also strong links with another Danish defender. I don't know if you've got the pronunciation on this guy, Paddy. 19-year-old Tobias Slotsager, who is at Odense in Denmark. He's a young ball playing centre half. He's been compared to Mats Hummels by some. Not sure who those people are.
By himself.
By himself. Is that a position we need to look for more covering?
Yeah, but I think so. I really do. I'm still not comfortable with our left hand side of our defence, I'm afraid, and I'm also just really worried. We're obviously going to touch on this game tomorrow night a bit, and we know the news about Cameron Carter Vickers has missed training today. Doesn't necessarily mean he's out, but that's my worry as well. Is he's been having a good season so far. He's been a bit more like it in terms of he's been playing week in, week out, but I think there's a lot of taxing on his body, and I think that if we got a player that just goes into that position and covers him correctly on the right hand side of defence, I don't think we do at the moment.
No.
And we have tried to sign a number of guys, haven't we? You know, all about Lager Bielka, Nawrocki, Kobayashi. Celtic have tried to fill that position but just haven't managed to do it successfully in recent years. One guy we know that won't be returning to Celtic is Adam Matthews. You may have seen that he's gone to Shamrock Rovers. 33-year-old Adam Matthews signed for Shamrock Rovers. He had a couple of years at Omonia in Cyprus, sometimes under Lenny.
Lenny took him over.
So
I like Matthews.
He's a good
he's
player.
All right. I'm surprised he's still as young. I thought he was way over the hill, but he's obviously still got a bit in him. So good luck to him there. Let's look at Celtic Villa. So you'll see the graphic on the screen here. In theory, James, Celtic can still make the top 8, but it'll be a tall order. We need a lot of things to fall into place for that to happen, but it's definitely not a dead rubber. You know, Celtic want to go there, pick up money, pick up coefficient points, and just prove themselves at this level.
Yeah, I think we can finish 5th and 24th or something like that. There's some swing. But yeah, particularly, you know, the Rodgers element of having managed in England, and, you know, he's got his detractors down there and they want to shuttle them up. You know, you'll be double focused on this. And I worry a little that might make it more of a defensive Atalanta type performance rather than just, you know, when you combine it with the limitations up front, it might be a back to the ball and try and sneak something, depending on what your man Yang can do. But, you know, we certainly can't. You can't be asking folk to tune in and pay money and travel, you know, if you're not going to go for it. You know?
You absolutely
can.
No, this is related to the Kyogo sale kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know,
in the here and now, managers, Brendan Rodgers has his principles and his style of play, but he's also got to be pragmatic. And I know that word came up a lot after Dortmund, but if he knows he's going down there with limitations and he chooses to play let's call it a non-entertaining style of football, on occasion, sometimes that's okay. That's what he has to do.
Yeah, and the thing is, we want to come away from that game, not having lost it, that's the priority, I would say.
Mhm.
And if you end up with 4 draws, 3 wins, and 1 loss, your Champions League record, that's pretty commendable.
And it's got to be seen as progress, Paddy. That was with Brendan Rodgers. Did he promise to deliver it, or did he say he would strive to deliver it, whatever his terms were at the time? But you can't deny that, as James says, we're on track for a very impressive 8-game campaign.
Yeah.
Dortmund was a disaster. Everything else pretty decent overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think listening to his interview after the game last week, it was very much him acknowledging that target had been met for the season. The objective had been met, and it was at a minimum get to this knockout part of the tournament. He's very clever with the media though, and I think that the way he was kind of discussing it, he says, "Oh, obviously we'll look to go down and see what we can do against Villa," but he wasn't putting all his eggs into that basket of going and beating them. And but believe me, the one person that will, like you say, will want to go down there and try and get a result is Brendan Rodgers, and I do think we'll approach it a little differently tomorrow night. I think, especially if we don't have Carter Vickers at the back, we don't have Maeda obviously, and now no Kyogo. I think we'll be a bit more on a counter-attacking basis tomorrow. I think it'll be backs to the wall.
Mm-hmm.
That in itself could bring moments of excitement though,
Yeah,
because the pace that Celtic have got, particularly with Kuhn, for example, it could make, if you defend well, if you're resolute in defence, and then you take your opportunities, you've got Hatatis and Engels and Callum McGregor who can find those passes that could all of a sudden unleash Kuhn, for example.
We've got pace. We've got pace.
That could be exciting to see. In terms of the position, as you say, James, you could finish 5th or 23rd, I think it is, something like that. We're currently in 18th place in the group, and we are guaranteed, as we know, to finish in the top 24, which makes sure that we at least make the playoff stage. We've got 12 points. Villa currently sitting 9th place on just 13 points, and actually I think it might be Valencia. I need to check. Valencia maybe just above them.
Valencia aren't in it.
Just go with me, Paddy. This is theatre. You just
aye. I'm just helping you. You can edit that out.
I'll just go with it. But I'll check it while you two are havering in a minute. But there's whoever's in 8th place are also in 13 points, and it just tells you just how tight it really is there. And you're only fractions away from really kind of kicking on. So this has obviously been the first year, Paddy, of the new format. But Celtic, you said it, James, it's been a bit of a Rodgers masterclass to navigate it. You can't just go, we'll just go for it. We'll give it our very best and we'll see where we go. But he sat for a draw at Atlanta. After the doing at Dortmund, he's been creative enough to get the wins against Leipzig and Bratislava and everything else. It's just been a very well managed 7 games so far, Paddy. And yeah, another one, as I say, would just draw the line under a very good 8-game campaign.
Without a doubt. And I think that for me as well, say we do go and sneak a victory, you're also looking down on 2 English teams below you then, because we're not going to be caught by City in this league phase, and then we would overtake Villa, of course. And I think that's another little credit in the bank for us as well, just to show it's not all about the money that you go and spend down there, and it's not all about the millions coming into your league. Actually, if we get that little bit of injection for the Champions League money, we can compete. We're just shopping in a harder market. It's a more vast market, and we're hoping that these players are going to come in and hit the ground running. We're hoping that our scouting is working to the best that it possibly can. But I think real credit to them, regardless of the result tomorrow. I think just real credit to the way we've approached it. I think fans are starting to kind of realise, when we look at the game against Club Brugge, actually, what an important point. A very, very important point, a very strong team. And as a manager touched on, an experienced Champions League team as well. Well, is there games where we probably could have won? Absolutely. I think Zagreb is definitely one that they'll look back on.
Left the back door open.
Yeah. True. But I do think that we have taken so much from this campaign already. It'll be exciting to see our approach in the knockout. Yeah, I just think it'll be really exciting to see how we go into both legs. Yeah,
and I think it's been proven that even just a single point in this league format can be so important.
Yeah,
and I think that's proven to be the case with a frustrating draw against Zagreb, but an important draw against Bruges, and certainly a really vital one against Atalanta, given the previous result. And I think the manager has managed this very well to nudge us up along the group. Paddy, you mistakenly thought it was Valencia that were in 8th place. It's actually Leverkusen, who have got a V in their name, and that's my only excuse for mixed up. But yeah, they and Villa and Monaco and Feyenoord and Lille and Brest are all on 13 points. So it shows just how tight it all is there. In terms of Villa, what are you expecting there? So they're obviously a very decent side under Unai Emery. They're not having quite the same campaign in terms of the Premier League this time around. They're currently sitting in 8th place, albeit not a million miles away from top 4, which is obviously a target. They have a manager there though who's been labelled as a European tournament expert, and for good reason I'd say. He's won 3 Europa Leagues in a row with Sevilla between 2014 and 16, and then he also won it in 2021 with...
Got me there.
Got myself there because I've wrote Sevilla and it can't be them again.
Sevilla and then Sevilla again. Villarreal.
It's these V's, the V's are thrown all there.
So, remember the Seville run?
Correct, all those teams. So he's a guy who's very effective, James, at managing teams in European competition, and he's got Villa in a position, as I say, 9th place there, and along with some really quality players, and I'll get to some of them in a minute. He's built a really decent side there, and I know they've got some injuries as well, but there's no denying it'll be a really tough task here on Wednesday. Yeah,
but it's the challenge you want. That's the task you want to take on. I would say they're a wee bit inconsistent, but much of that might be down to how much effort they're putting into the Champions League. That can impact your
Villa can't not be trying the Champions League, though. They're not there often enough to take it lightly. That's
what I mean. That's why they're sitting in 8th, because they're putting a lot of effort into the Champions League.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's going to be a challenge, but I do think they're maybe just at a wee bit of a lower ebb than they were start of the season. They came out kind of flying, and they've drifted a wee bit since then. McGinn's out. Maybe that's a bit of a drive for them that they're missing. But it's teams like this that we want to take on and compete with, and just move up the European ladder as such. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think that they are a very decent side, and it shows. Down south, they get so excited at times. Unai Emery was labelled a flop at Arsenal,
which is insane.
He clearly is a talented manager, and I think he's been a bit of a revelation at Villa, and I think the fans love him, and rightly so. Paddy does have money and good players to work with, just a few that I'm going to rhyme off here. Morgan Rodgers, who I think is a brilliant player. I don't know if you've seen much of him. Ex-Man City, one of many young talented players that couldn't quite make the breakthrough there. You think of your man Cole Palmer, for example.
Yeah.
Took the move elsewhere. He's flying. I think he's a brilliant player, really talented guy. Ollie Watkins, England striker up front. You've got Leon Bailey, very decent player. Tielemans, who Brendan Rodgers will know well. He had him at Leicester. Yuri Tielemans. Some other guys. Tyrone Mings, who got injured, I believe, at the weekend, so he might miss out, for example. But Paddy, there's no doubt they're a very talented team. And again, it is a tough task for Celtic to go there and get anything, let alone a win.
Absolutely, a World Cup winner in goals as well. We're going to
do not like that guy.
I don't like him, but he still won the tournament. He was massive for Argentina and that run as well. I think we need to be real about it. It's going to be a very difficult game. However, they are in a bit of a... They've stalled a little bit just now, and I think that they are there to be got at. Could we score against them? I think we could. I do. I look at the calibre of the teams we've played against, and I think that we're really a threat to any team. It is a bit different. We've not got the same pressure from Maeda tomorrow night, and obviously there's no Kyogo involved as well now. I think for me, it's how we manage the game, and I think for me, it's unlocking Callum McGregor again, like we did on Wednesday night. I think that's so important for us.
McGregor first half.
Oh, he was outstanding, and I think he's huge in games like this tomorrow night. It's who wants it. I think for me, I don't think there's a huge difference. If they've got some great players, but I think if Celtic on their day want it, we could definitely go for it.
I think there'll be any arrogance or complacency on their side, because their media definitely are.
Well,
I think
absolutely,
that filters down.
Absolutely, and I think that Emery is a very good manager, and I think he will keep the players level-headed, but there's still some characters in there. There's still some players that will not treat this game the way it should be treated. I actually think that's how they get caught out a bit at Monaco last week with a defeat. Of course, there's always an arrogance with these teams, and I think that's what we need to capitalise on. And listen, it's going to be a difficult night, but I just think anything could happen. Yeah, and
I agree. I don't think Emery will be, presuming anything or assuming anything in terms of how it will go out, but certainly some of their fan media, but I think you tuned into a few of them, and they're not saying they're going to win the game, they're saying by how many. They've already got the win secured. It's like by how many. And as always, it's always great to get down there and prove a point, and I think Celtic should go with an element of confidence and also an element of freedom. You've qualified, so the big pressure was last week, and it was quite a tense game, certainly second half, but we got the job done, and it allows you to go and not go gung-ho, but to maybe express yourself in a way that really there's not the pressure of not making it, regardless what happens. Just in terms of that result last week, so they lost 1-0 to Monaco, match day 7. Some interesting results aside from that as well. They beat Leipzig, who we also beat. They drew nothing each with Juventus. They got beat by Bruges, so we obviously drew with Bruges, but Villa couldn't do so. They get beat there. And they had a couple of very good results, Early Bells. They beat Bologna 2-0 But before that, they beat Bayern 1-0. I think that was match day 1. So they've had some decent stuff.
Young boys. That was their match day 1.
No,
Bayern
Bayern.
Munich.
Bayern.
Well, they played young boys, though, didn't they?
Potentially.
Informed podcasters
we're doing
strike
all right,
once again.
Telling you.
They played
Young boys
Valencia
were
next
terrible.
week as well.
That's just a friendly.
The extra tie.
So yes, a handful of results there, mixed results, but I think it's it's set to be a really exciting one. Let's have a quick whiz through the lineups then, because obviously there are changes from a Celtic point of view. We're recording here on Tuesday night, just a wee bit before 6, and we hadn't yet heard the manager's press conference, probably taking place about now, and we don't yet know about Cameron Carter-Vickers, but it sounds a doubt. He didn't train. Could it be cautionary?
I think it's happened in the last year or so that he often hasn't trained just to give his body that rest. So I don't think it necessarily says he's out, but there's obviously something to be managed, and it might be managed in time, but it might not be. So I just need to wait and see.
I wonder as well whether it's nothing major, but again, it's a game we don't need to win. Do you just play clever with Carter Vickers? Do you listen to the sports science and the medics? We'll see how that goes. So whether he's available or not, we don't know just yet, but we will definitely start with Kasper Schmeichel, and rightly so. He's been huge for Celtic, great to see, and he's obviously confirmed his deal extension in the last week or two. At fullback, we'll almost definitely have Alistair Johnston on the right. Not being dismissive, but by default you'll have Greg Taylor as much as anything on the left, but he would have started regardless. I think.
He would have.
In the middle is seemingly it would be Trusty and one other, so it remains to be seen whether it's Carter Vickers or else.
I hope it's Carter Vickers, and even if it's 80% chance, you still play him. He's our best defender.
Depends if it's going to give him any problem for the rest of the season for the knockouts and things,
I get it, but there's also this opportunity to still climb this table, which could be very helpful for Celtic too.
And that's the balance, and that's the manager's call, isn't it? How much weight does he put into this? So his sports science guys might go, right, we've qualified Brendan, so take it easy with Cameron Carter-Vickers. He'd be like, no, I want to go and do this and prove a point and get Celtic as far as we possibly can. So there's always that balance.
Who is it if it isn't CCV?
Trusty in the right and Scales in the left.
Time for Nawrocki to shine.
Don't like that.
No, Nawrocki's gone,
Was he in the squad,
I think so.
He
was on the bench. In fact, he came onto the park after last week's victory as well. So that kind of takes care of the defence. Midfield, I think it will be the preferred three of Callum McGregor, Rio Hatate and Arne Engels. Any change on that for you lads?
No, happy with that.
And up front, it's obviously difficult. We've lost two guys that would almost definitely have, in fact, they would definitely have started. Maeda and Kyogo, no longer an option for two very different reasons. Nicholas Kuhn will remain on the right-hand side. Adam Ida must get the nod up top. And I think it will be Yang. Yang is at the moment ahead of Palmer.
Yep.
And I don't know if there's any other options at a side. James Forrest remains injured. Don't know if there's any youngsters I'm missing.
They're skinny on the bench.
Yeah. And Daniel Cummins, as Paddy suggested, has travelled. But that would be the front three, Paddy, I think.
I think so. I think for me it's a real shame with Maeda. I don't know what he was thinking, and I know it's a soft red card, but you just don't throw your leg that way, bud.
It's the same as Diamandi at the weekend, right? I don't necessarily like that as a rule.
No,
but you swing out, you're off.
No,
it's
exactly.
Your manager shouldn't be defending you at all on that. It's stupidity.
100% agree.
And it's the same for Maeda.
I think a moment he'll regret, but I think we can forgive him for what he's given us this season.
Absolutely.
But I would have loved him in that starting lineup tomorrow night.
Flying at them.
It'd been so much pressure for them.
I made the point when we recorded on Friday about the best of Celtic at this moment in time includes Daizen Maeda. So it's just frustrating that you're going down there with a point to prove and all of the detractors and all your Jason Cundies and TalkSport characters and all that stuff, just waiting for Celtic to lose a game like that. And it's frustrating that you can't go down at full force. And actually, taking CCV, Maeda and Kyogo out of that team, if this was a must-win, that's three
massive
top players for Celtic, and there's no doubt that that'll have an impact. So there's a challenge of dealing with that. The challenge itself, though, is one that will be very much welcomed by Adam Ida, and I would suggest if Yang feels that he's got a future at Celtic, and I really do hope he does, but this is the time to shine. He's had opportunities. What a chance to put yourself in the spotlight, because people are saying, he can do it in bits and bobs and it, in fits and starts. If you go and have a really good game against Aston Villa, there's barely a higher level to go and perform at, and that might give him a lifeline. But yeah, he's on a shaky peg, Paddy, there's no doubt, but there's a chance for these guys.
Yeah, stranger things have happened with the fringe players, remember? We think back to Miku starting in that famous game, that 2-1 victory against Barca. So, listen, I think if you're Brendan Rodgers, you're asking Yang to shadow and look at what Daizen Maeda brings to it and say, you can be as dynamic as that if you want as well. Because I think for me, there's not many players that can keep up the off-the-ball antics the way Dyson Maeda does. Yeah. It's a very, very difficult job to do, and I would never ever compare the rest of our wingers to that. But I do think that pressing tomorrow is going to be equally as important how we are with the ball as well. And I think that if we can get Yang, and I would actually say Nicholas Kuhn, because I thought he was pretty poor at it last Wednesday, to really commit and try and bed those two full-backs in, that's an extra 5-10 yards for Celtic up the park tomorrow night. So it's crucial that Yang's on top of it. He's on his toes for the full 90 minutes tomorrow.
And I wonder just how high we'll press, because we went high against Dortmund, and that didn't quite go to plan. Kuhn and Maeda were so high up the pitch and very clearly dragged back 10, 15, even 20 yards for Atalanta to put in what I call Atlanta backs to the ball, not backs to the ball, but certainly a strong defensive display.
It was mature.
Yeah.
You know?
I wonder if we'll be somewhere in between the two. We won't and cannot be Dortmund ever again. But I don't know if we'll go as defensive as Atlanta. Maybe somewhere in between in terms of how high the manager chooses to press. What about Adam Ida? I know we touched on him earlier on, James, but he'll have taken the boost. Listen, he didn't score the goal last week, but he had a pivotal role in the goal, and I don't care if he celebrates it like he scored it or not. Absolutely. He celebrated like all the rest of us did. Aye. And I didn't score it, and I don't used to have scored it, but we all went mad, and good luck to him for that. But it should give him a boost to once again have played a key part in a really important goal for Celtic. And now, right now, he knows he's the number one striker in the building, and that should give him the confidence to go and play the way we know he can play.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a head game for him this season because, you know, we've all seen what Ida can do. We know he's got the talent. I'm a massive fan. So it was just a matter of getting his head right. And I think that goal, however involved he was in it or not, that involvement is giving him that lift. So he should be getting into tomorrow night with that confidence to back himself in his own talent, because we know he's got the talent and he's got the opportunity now as well. So, yeah.
Paddy, a guy like Adam Ida is capable of going into a strong game against a team like Villa, isn't he?
Yeah, I would agree. I think so. I think that's a level he's probably aspired to play at as well in the English Premier League, and I think he's not been far off it. For me, the big thing for Adam Ida tomorrow night is work on holding that ball in a bit more tighter. I think that's been the big issue for him, because the goals might not be coming, the service might not be there, which we've obviously kind of spoke about, just the way that the system's working. But what you can do is create that space for your players in behind, and I think there's glimpses of Ida doing that. But I also just think there's match understanding, and I also think that there's plenty of times where we've spoke about it recently. You're seeing the likes of the back line are having a go at him for not coming short quick enough. Midfielders are starting to do the same as well. So that's got to be the focus for Adam Ida. That's the thing that you work on. And the minute you start unlocking that, everything else around you starts to move the right way, and then he gets the confidence from it. Yeah. I don't think he's far off from it. I do think he's got a good touch, and I do think he can hold the ball up. He just needs to want to be able to do it for 90 minutes.
Yeah, and the key for any Celtic striker, it's not just about scoring the goals. You know, you've got to have that element where you can drop in, particularly away from home in Europe, where you can protect the ball, allow your midfielders to get up the park and just take the pressure off at times, because we will be under pressure. Yeah. You'd expect away from home in Europe anywhere, but certainly Villa Park, you will have spells where you don't have a lot of the ball and Villa are on the attack. And if Celtic can get it off, win back possession and get it back up to your striker, you need him to do that job and be the big powerful striker that he is. So good luck to Adam Ida. Massive night for him, and I really hope he takes his confidence into that one and shows the best of himself. Lads, we've talked a lot, but we need to get the scoreline predictions for this one, and it's so hard to call, particularly given, as I say, the absentees from the team. Heart will often rule head at times like this, but I'll come to you first, Paddy. What's your take?
I can't not back us. I'm going to go 1-0 Celtic.
I like it.
I was going to go 1-0. I'll go 2-1.
You could also go 1-0.
I think it will be 1-0.
I get called a lot of things, but I get called recently ever the optimist, something like that. I do find it very hard. I've never been able to kind of predict against Celtic. It's not something I'm good at.
Pointless doing the show if we've done that. 3-0 Rangers, go for it. How way you go.
7-1 Dortmund. But we do have players. I think we know that on our day we're capable, and that I'll always go with that side of things. The fact that if Celtic manage to have one of those nights that we can do, and certain players, Kuhns and otherwise, can spring into life, then Celtic are capable of going to Villa Park and getting a result. They're a good side, but they're not top level. They're well managed, they've got some good individuals, but we've got a very talented manager and some very good individuals as well, and I do believe we can go and get something. I would go 2-1 as well. I know it sounds a bit boring to kind of have the same scoreline. Could be a really exciting night. What we've seen with this tournament, just as an aside, I think it's been great.
Absolutely.
Obviously we're buzzing that Celtic are in it, but it's been great for open and attacking football across the board.
100%. And I think what we actually have in our locker that Villa don't is that patience within this level as well. And I think that tomorrow's going to be a tight affair for them. They are on the cusp of the top 8.
Yeah.
So they're expected to come out and win tomorrow. By all reports that I've been reading is that if they don't take an early lead, their fans are on their case.
I caught something like this myself.
Bit Jersey.
Yep.
And especially a big game against the likes of Celtic, the Scottish team, they look down in a league like nothing else. We could make it a very nervy evening for them. Yeah. And we've got the experience now in terms of game management, in terms of really put them under pressure, really make the fans upset. And just see how you handle it. How's your bottle?
Yeah, and remember, this is our 3rd consecutive season in the Champions League. So Callum McGregor and a number of others, Carter Vickers will hopefully be part of that. Kasper Schmeichel's a very experienced guy. These guys will know the importance of keeping the home crowd quiet, certainly in the opening stages, and can you get to half time and maybe steal a goal or keep it nothing each. And I read a similar report, Paddy, that their fans can get a bit tetchy if they're not, getting the goals and doing everything in the first half. And their fans will just be thinking this is a freebie, a gimme. Scottish team come down, right, we'll take care of business. If they don't do it early, that could really swing things back in Celtic favour. But a big night, an exciting one to look forward to, and we'll see how it all plays out as it lands tomorrow night. Just a final piece of business. Celtic play Managerless Motherwell on Sunday at Fir Park. You'll have read the reports. Stuart Kettlewell has stepped down following what he's called abuse from his fans and abuse that his family have now found themselves unable to attend Fir Park as a result of. I think that's a disgrace. I think that's shambolic. And Motherwell, I just want to say as an aside, as a club, they do a lot of good stuff.
Community work, yeah.
And I think it flies in the face of that. The managers really kind of struggled to handle it. And there's no football's an emotional game, and there's ups and downs, and players and managers you like, but when it gets that personal abuse where a guy can't take his family to the game, that cannot be right, can it?
It should never be personal, and we're not immune to it ourselves. There's been things, recently with Taylor and stuff, and you can criticise a player for his ability or his determination or whatever it may be, but it can never be personal, especially when it goes wider to that person's family. I just don't understand that kind of football fan, I mean, yeah, right. I mean, I think Motherwell do fantastic in the community, but they need to address their hooligan element. Call it what it is, Maybe we do as well, but they definitely do.
Yeah, I think one of their execs, chairman or otherwise, spoke out and basically said it's ununacceptable, Paddy.
They're sitting 5th.
I know. Where did they expect to be?
What's the hassle?
Your young manager doing well,
Exactly. I can't get my head around it. And do you know what? Actually, it takes balls to make a step like that. So fair play to him.
Yeah, absolutely, because he's a guy who's kind of putting his family first, and that's absolutely got to be the right call. But did the Motherwell fans think that Kettlewell wants anything else than to go and win games of football? That he's not trying? That he's just picking up the dough?
Exactly.
He's a young, I'd say, fairly kind of well-regarded coach. He's trying his absolute best for the club. If that doesn't work out and the club decide to move him on, then so be it. But I was reading amongst the statement, he's got like one of the best win records in modern times as a Motherwell manager and various other things. And I just think football fans at times are getting less and less patient. We're in a kind of a world where everything's at your fingertips and all that stuff. And the moment you get a bump in the road and a few bad results, people want to just switch it and change it. And I don't know, I was disappointed to read it, to be honest with you, and the circumstances around it. So obviously we're all about Celtic, but just from a wider football point of view, pretty shoddy stuff. But for Celtic, Paddy, it means you go to a team who will inevitably maybe have that, not new manager bounce just yet. I don't expect them to appoint anyone between now and Sunday. But you've now got guys playing for your future, because when managers change, players know that they need to step up a gear and make sure that you're in the favour of the new guy that comes in. And going to Fir Park hasn't been easy for Celtic in recent years as well, so it could be another tough challenge on Sunday.
Yeah, it's never an easy place. I actually think one of the last times one of the last times we finished a comfortable victory there, Jota was instrumental in it.
Going to say.
I remember that actually because it was just after COVID.
Is it the non-offside midweek night game?
No, I remember that one. No, this is a different one, and it was just after COVID, so they were still having to isolate from the changing rooms. So Celtic were in the.
They came down the stairs.
They came down the stairs, but when we were leaving the stadium, we could see down the stairs, and all the players are walking down into where they were getting changed, and he was just in awe of just everyone singing Jota in the winger. a bit more of that on Sunday, please. That would be lovely.
Yeah, that'd be great. Do you think we see Jota? Does he come on for the last 15?
100%.
He won't be ready to start, will he?
Not to start, but I think at least 15.
Yeah, aye, he'll be involved.
What a roar he'll go up when Jota comes in, eh?
Brilliant.
He's just a real flair player.
What a signing.
Yeah.
What a signing. And do you know something? Like, and I think that we call it out. We really all show our passion about Celtic in this podcast, and I think it's credit to yourself for making the stance that you did last season. This season with not renewing, and I think that we've definitely waited for this board to wake up for us, and it does seem that they're actually starting to take it a bit seriously.
What you're saying is I signed Jota for Celtic.
You've started the revolution,
the
welcome
revolution
Celtic.
even.
The one-man pressure group seems to have put enough pressure on the board.
Honestly,
we started the piece with Jota. We're getting towards the end. Do you want to just do another 10 minutes on Jota?
why not? Put him back on. Look at him, glorious.
It'd be
That hair.
amazing to see Jota make his return formally and officially on Sunday, and what a lift the whole place will get. I don't know what the scoreline will be at that time, but whenever Jota comes in, it's time to get excited. James, I'll come to you now for your final comments for the week.
It's been a fantastic Champions League campaign. You know, I said after the 7-1 defeat that the 7 goals just didn't bother me as long as you get through
7 lucky
the league.
goals.
7 lucky goals and the highest press you've ever seen. As long as we get through that, nobody would be saying anything. I get absolutely pilloried in the comments for it. But tell me how you feel. You know, how do you feel now that we've qualified and we could even qualify into automatic? So you have to say it's been a masterstroke from the manager. The board are switched on to the manager's vision, which is why you've got guys like Jota coming back, and it looks like there's going to be a few others between now and next week. So it's exciting times. Yeah,
and that whole thing about the manager and the board being on the same page, it's not always the case at Celtic, and we've seen the ups and downs over the years. You can take it back as far as you want to go back in terms of there used to be transfer committees and Robert Kelly and stuff used to pick the team back at a certain stage. Then Steen comes in, blah blah blah. I'm going way back here, but you've even got like Tommy Burns had his issues with Fergus McCann and loads of bumps in the road. And often boards can be made up of guys that don't understand football and try and make footballing decisions versus managers who know the game inside out and stuff. But what you do have at the moment, seemingly, is, and we'll see how the Paul Tidsdale appointment plays out, is a board, Paddy, and a manager who do seem to be in tandem, looking to do the right things by the football club. The most important thing is the football on the park, and we do seem to be going in the right direction.
There's a real cohesion. You can definitely see a settled Brendan Rodgers this season round, and actually, you know, we think about some of the comments made last year when we were kind of at this point of the end of a transfer window, wondering what was happening, why have we not pushed the button, what are we waiting on? We signed Kuhn, we signed Ida. We felt it was all a little bit desperate come the end of it all. We've not heard that much this month. You know, I think a lot of fans are just like, we'll be patient in what we're doing. Be patient in what we're doing. We all knew that the rumours would start to really come out the minute we qualified, and I think that has been the case. It'll be an interesting few days ahead, but if we bring in KT in a pre-contract and don't get him in January, and we bring in a striker, I'd still be very happy with the transfer window. Yeah,
there's lots going on. I think it's just exciting times on and off the park. So let's see what we see over the next few days. That wraps things up on this latest episode of the Celtic Exchange Weekly. Thanks to James and Paddy, and thanks to you for tuning in. We'll be back on Thursday with all the reaction to the Champions League Matchday 8 at Villa Park, and then again on Friday with the countdown to kick-off ahead of Sunday's trip to Fir Park. Remember to check out the Celtic Exchange Plus. There is a link in the show notes for that, where you can enjoy every episode we do completely ad-free. You can gain early access to the Celtic Exchange Weekly every single week, and you can have the chance to win Celtic prizes and our monthly prize draw. But until next time, here's hoping for a big performance at Villa Park. Have a great week. We'll see you again very soon.